reporting in Dalton.
South suburban Dalton.
Dalton.
More drama in Dalton tonight.
And you know who's at the center of a lot of their frustrations? Tiffany Henyard, the mayor, or super mayor, as she calls herself.
Mayor Tiffany, hero or villain?
She's a villain. She really don't be doing nothing for us. She tried to make a big show, a big act.
The FBI is in town looking into her.
They are.
What is she allegedly guilty of, do you think?
You might have heard the stereotype about small-town sheriffs having inflated egos. But have you ever come across a small-town mayor who could make even the most notorious mafia bosses look like amateurs? Meet Mayor Tiffany Henyard of Dalton, Illinois, a woman whose administration is making headlines for all the wrong reasons.
Investigates has confirmed the FBI right now is carrying out a raid of Dalton Village.
Your typical small-town affair. Mayor Henyard is accused of not only embezzling a substantial portion of the town's funds, but also of resorting to mafia-style intimidation tactics against anyone daring enough to challenge her authority. She's earned a reputation for referring to herself as a super mayor, and it's becoming increasingly clear that she's taking this title to heart.
By my house with a caravan with police cars, sirens, ringing my bell, asking my tenants, was I at home?
In a place where you'd least expect such grandiose corruption, Henyard's alleged actions are nothing short of scandalous. The small-town charm of Dalton has been overshadowed by the mayor's audacious behavior, leading to federal scrutiny. The FBI's raid is a significant step in unraveling the web of alleged corruption that has tainted this.
I know you have 6:30 in the morning, all type of rounds. Some of the rounds was in my yard, and a couple of cars got shot up. My tenants' cars got shot up.
That statement is just one account from someone who claims to have been a victim of Mayor Tiffany Henyard's alleged misconduct. And here's the twist. The person speaking out is not just anyone, but a 30-year veteran trustee and a retired sheriff's deputy. It's hard to imagine a more qualified and credible witness. If the allegations are indeed accurate, it's a serious and deeply troubling situation. The gravity of the claims against Henyard is underscored by the fact that the FBI has.
Our investigations have documented well over $100,000 in first-class travel, meals, even donations to Henyard's questionable cancer charity. But that money came from Thornton Town.
Descended upon Dalton, launching a thorough investigation into her activities. So, what exactly are the accusations against her?
We heard that the FBI is in town looking into her.
They are.
What is she allegedly guilty of?
The specifics are still unfolding, but the involvement of federal authorities suggests that the alleged wrongdoing involves significant and serious matters. The fact that a highly respected and experienced
Fox 32 has information indicating the FBI has launched an investigation into controversial Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard.
Dane Black.
And things have taken a turn for the worse. What started as unsettling harassment of a senior citizen has escalated to something downright terrifying. There are allegations of mob-style hits involved as well. The list of scandals is overwhelming, believe me. We're talking about a range of shocking accusations, from reportedly vanishing with up to $7 million in town funds, to splurging $43,000 in a single shopping spree. And on top of that, she allegedly intimidated anyone who dared to challenge her authority. The whole situation is just beyond the pale.
Did the FBI agents you talked to seem serious about?
Yes, very serious.
Concerns?
Federal agents have launched a criminal probe into the embattled mayor, issuing a subpoena to the self-proclaimed supermayor last week for a trove of business records and financial reports. On Friday, FBI agents served subpoenas to Mayor Tiffany Henyard at the Thornton Township Hall, where she also serves as the Thornton Township Supervisor. Henyard received 2 subpoenas, one addressing her personal and business activities, and the other related to township operations. The local news station, which acquired copies of the subpoenas, reported that the first one demands a range of documents, including personnel files, wage and tax records, time and attendance logs, contracts, and checks made out to cash. This request pertains to Henyard's various ventures, such as her restaurant, property management company, Political Action Committee, and her eponymous charity. The second subpoena focuses on financial records from the township, requesting comprehensive documents like budgets, payroll records, and ordinances related to credit card expenditures, expense reports, reimbursements, security arrangements, and vehicle usage. The detailed information being sought indicates that Henyard is the primary subject of this criminal investigation, as noted by former FBI agent Ross Rice. The scope of these subpoenas reveals the depth of scrutiny Henyard is facing.
Our investigations have documented well over $100,000 in first-class travel, meals, even donations to Henyard's questionable cancer charity. But that money came from Thornton Township.
The documents requested span both her personal business dealings and her official duties, highlighting a broad investigation into her financial and administrative practices. The situation underscores the serious nature of the allegations against her and the extensive nature of the federal inquiry into her conduct.
Your critics say that you have a significant security detail. First of all, how large is your police department in Dalton, and what is your security?
After examining the subpoenas, an agent remarked, "The scope is extensive, covering numerous people and entities for records. This indicates that there are serious allegations of misconduct that investigators are aiming to uncover. It seems like things are only going to get more intriguing. This situation is like something out of a Hollywood movie, with real-life corruption unfolding before our eyes. Believe me, this drama is destined to be legendary. But we have to start somewhere, so let's break down the many serious allegations facing this so-called supermayor." The first major allegation against Mayor Henyard surfaced in March 2024. It involved claims that she had improperly used taxpayer funds to cover a series of her own personal and extravagant expenses.
Can the Dalton Police Department afford to have this many officers attached to her detail?
We can. We really need them patrolling the...
At that time, Tiffany Henyard blocked a resolution that aimed to investigate her spending. This came after accusations that she had misused taxpayer money for expensive trips and for funding her own $1 million police detail. That's right. She was allegedly using town funds to maintain her own private security force. It's as if she was draining the town's budget to support her own personal protection. Initially, the Dalton, Illinois Village Board decided to launch an investigation into Mayor Henyard, urging her to provide the village's financial records and inviting the FBI to look into the matter as well. However, Henyard responded with a veto, arguing that the resolution was a result of personal vendettas and biased narratives. At the village board meeting, she defended herself by stating, "Our village, our community, and I are under attack. It's unfortunate that people can come to meetings and only present one side of the story, failing to provide the full context. This defense is somewhat undermined by the mounting accusations against her. For instance, Henyard had previously faced criticism for allegedly treating local police as her personal security detail, reportedly spending $1 million to have them act as her bodyguards."
Dalton.
Former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot is set to present her preliminary report on Mayor Tiffany Henyard's spending.
But this is just one of many controversies surrounding her. You might think that paying $1 million to the police for personal security was the worst of it, but there's more. Here's the second major issue. In March 2024, village trustees asked for a third-party investigator to examine suspicious spending related to Henyard's trips, according to the Washington Examiner. They specifically wanted to investigate a trip she took to Las Vegas with 2 other village trustees. While a prior investigation had cleared her of any wrongdoing, the other trustees still had doubts. This led to the hiring of former Chicago Mayor Lori Lightfoot as the special investigator to look into Henyard's spending practices.
This is fake news. It's not real. No.
Dalton trustees approved a resolution to pay Lori Lightfoot $400 per hour to investigate Mayor Tiffany Henyard, who had gained notoriety as one of America's most extravagant mayors due to her lavish spending on luxury hotels and first-class flights. Lightfoot, upon taking on the role of special investigator, remarked, "The people in this village want to change. They want to go in a new direction. In 2023, Henyard, along with 2 village trustees and several village employees, went on a trip to Las Vegas. Allegations surfaced that Henyard spent excessively, using town funds for personal enjoyment. Although an earlier probe into the trip found no evidence of wrongdoing, many trustees remained unconvinced and suspected there were still unresolved issues. Trustee Jason House expressed doubts about the integrity of the previous investigation. He believes the investigation should not only involve gathering financial records, but also empower the state to authorize payments once approved by the board. His frustration is understandable. After all, no one likes seeing their funds misused. Now, the trustees want Lightfoot to dig deeper into Henyard's Las Vegas trip. Under the terms of the agreement, Lightfoot will provide a detailed report once her fees hit $30,000. The investigation faces additional challenges because Lightfoot, not being part of a law enforcement agency, cannot issue subpoenas. She can only request full cooperation from the mayor and her team. This complicates matters, as Lightfoot herself has acknowledged. Henyard's reputation for running a tight operation, reminiscent of organized crime figures, makes the investigation even more daunting.
The village is said to be millions of dollars in debt, but we expect this report to outline exactly how much financial trouble they are really in.
It's no surprise that handling this situation is proving to be incredibly challenging for Lightfoot. A law firm representing Dalton has already warned the trustees that appointing Lightfoot might be beyond their authority. They pointed out that the trustees don't have the power to conduct investigations or hire someone for that purpose, and cautioned that Henyard might refuse to approve any payments to Lightfoot. It's clear that this will be far from straightforward. In response to the mounting scrutiny, Henyard has labeled the situation as a form of witch hunt and gender bias. She has accused the village board of being a male-dominated group that is resistant to female leadership. Henyard has vowed to combat what she perceives as a smear campaign against her. She asserted her determination, saying she will continue to fight for what she believes is right, remain steadfast, and emerge victorious once all the dust settles. When questioned about the extravagant security expenses, Henyard's response suggested it was a tough situation for her to address. Her position reflects her belief that these issues are being unfairly used against her, with the village board's actions being interpreted as discriminatory and biased. This ongoing conflict underscores the complexity of the investigation and the contentious atmosphere surrounding Henyard's tenure.
Rounds was in my yard and a couple of cars got shot up. My tenants' cars got shot up.
It was so bad that the local brass started complaining that her requirements have hindered their ability to do their jobs and keep the community safe.
Next thing I know, you have 6:30 in the morning, all type of rounds was flying.
The big question now is, if Mayor Henyard is genuinely innocent, and this is all just a sexist smear campaign as she argues, where has the money gone? Meanwhile, members of the village board who plan to overturn her veto in the next meeting have reported that the financial shortfall is actually in the millions, far exceeding Henyard's estimates. Things are getting more complicated. Former trustee Edward Steve has pointed out that, although Henyard might blame others, she should seriously examine her own actions. The concerns aren't limited to the trustees alone. Everyday residents are also speaking out against her. And this is just the start. There's a lot more to this story that hasn't yet come to light. If you remember, we mentioned how the mayor seemed to be running the town with a mafia-style approach. Here's a specific incident that really highlights this. Former village trustee Valeria Stubbs, who had spoken out against the mayor, claimed she faced severe retaliation from Henyard. In a candid interview, Stubbs described how Henyard allegedly intimidated her repeatedly at her home. To make matters worse, Henyard supposedly went as far as sending hitmen to vandalize the vehicles of 2 tenants living in properties owned by Stubbs. This action certainly paints a vivid picture of the kind of intimidation and control Henyard is accused of wielding.
And to me, Tiffany pulled up. And that's when she started talking about her haters. Oh, I'm at Valerie Stubbs' house. She called and asked me for help.
Stubbs further alleged that Henyard deliberately aligned herself with the police department to ensure that they disregarded the complaints Stubbs had lodged against her. The outspoken critic of the beleaguered mayor is convinced that her home was targeted with gunfire as part of Henyard's efforts to retaliate during their intense dispute.
I mean, as you think about it right now, like, can you walk us through the steps it got from, like I said, you being critical of the mayor to this?
You might be tempted to dismiss her claims as those of a disgruntled individual, but consider this. Last July, 2 cars belonging to tenants of former trustee Valeria Stubbs, who is a retired member of the Cook County Sheriff's Office, were shot up with at least 9 bullets. Given her ongoing feud with Mayor Henyard and the mayor's reputation for high-handedness, Stubbs believes the shooting was a retaliation for her public criticism of Henyard. It's not far-fetched to think that someone accused of draining a financially struggling Illinois town's resources for lavish travel and personal luxuries might go to extreme lengths to cover their tracks. When asked if she thought Henyard was behind the shooting, Stubbs was unequivocal in her response. Absolutely. Moreover, Stubbs claimed that Henyard had personally threatened her several times before the incident, including during a snowstorm last winter. If these threats are accurate, the escalation to a shooting would make sense. Stubbs had previously accused Henyard of hiring a registered sex offender as a village code enforcement officer and demanded his removal. The situation seemed questionable from the start, but it worsened when Henyard's response was to post a peculiar video of herself shoveling snow from Stubbs's driveway, publicly making light of the accusations.
Some South suburban neighbors are scared to go for a walk, even a drive down the street, because of a spike in...
2's Tara Molina asked Dalton's leaders that very question tonight.
To walk to the store, or you're afraid to go in your backyard and to have a...
This is what it looks like when you confront your haters. I am here for all my haters, because I am the mayor of all of Dalton. The good, the bad, the ugly, and even the hateful. This bizarre display was seen by Stubbs, who appeared confused as she briefly emerged from her home and was caught on camera.
Investigations have documented well over $100,000 in first-class travel, meals, even donations to Henyard's questionable cancer charity. But that money came from...
Whether the mayor's actions were innocent or not, it's hard to ignore how bad it looks for her to visit the home of someone who has been publicly accusing her, especially without their consent. This situation only adds to the negative perception. According to Stubbs, the mayor had claimed she called the village to clear the snow, making her personal visit even more unsettling. Stubbs stated that she never requested the mayor's presence and felt it was harassment. After an unsuccessful recall attempt, Stubbs organized a meeting where Henyard again showed up with a group of police and city workers. Stubbs, who was not at home at the time, was informed by her tenants about the intimidating presence at her property. Despite attempts to contact Henyard for an explanation, she did not respond.
A lawsuit that was filed by the mayor's former assistant accuses Mayor Henyard of retaliation, and it accuses Trustee Holmes of assault.
Enraged, Stubbs went to a board meeting to confront the mayor. During the public comment session, she demanded on record that Henyard stop harassing her and not visit her home again. 2 months later, Stubbs awoke early to the sound of gunshots. When she went outside, she comforted a shaken bystander who had been waiting for the bus. Later, she discovered that 2 of her tenants' cars had been shot up, with bullet casings scattered on the ground. A neighbor's doorbell camera captured footage of the shooting and showed 2 men fleeing in a white car. Given the events leading up to this, Stubbs believes Henyard was behind the shooting, and it's hard not to find her claim credible. She reported the incident to the local police, but said they refused to give her the police report and haven't provided any updates. Stubbs mentioned that the police department is heavily influenced by the mayor, which raises doubts about their impartiality. As a result, residents in the neighborhood are so fearful that they now inform each other about their whereabouts and when they return home.
Her lawsuit, though, after dinner, she went out with Trustee Holmes and she said she felt lightheaded. They've been drinking, she says, and she...
Let's take a step back and dive into some background on this controversial mayor. Henyard, previously a failed burger joint owner, gained notoriety for her antics as mayor. Notably, she once dressed up as Nino Brown, the fictional drug kingpin from the 1991 film New Jack City, during a board meeting. To top it off, she had a DJ blasting Rihanna's Better Have My Money during the session. While this theatrical approach might have been memorable, it crossed the line from entertaining to troubling when Henyard began to act like a real-life drug kingpin. Critics accuse her of creating an atmosphere of fear, pulling business licenses from those who don't contribute to her funds, and using local law enforcement as a personal intimidation tool. The town of Dalton, with a population of 20,000, is now burdened with millions in debt due to Henyard's spending. Mismanagement is so severe that some police cruisers are reportedly at risk of repossession. Stubbs, now on high alert, hopes the struggling village will eventually get the help it needs. Investigations reveal that the village owes over $427,000 to a street paving company for work completed in 2022. Additionally, a bank has threatened to repossess village vehicles, including police cars, due to unpaid balances. A tree trimming company is owed $400,000 for work done in 2023, and another $50,000 is overdue to various vendors. Henyard herself admitted in a board meeting that the village is facing a $2 million deficit.
The only thing she remembers after that point is waking up in his bed, not feeling like herself, feeling uncomfortable and not sure how she got there.
Despite the severe financial issues, Henyard still managed to hold a $1 million Facebook giveaway in February 2024, celebrating Black History Month. That's $1 million with 6 zeros, almost too extravagant to believe. But the controversy doesn't stop there. The mayor's alleged misconduct seems to only get worse. The next serious accusation involves her former assistant, who claims she was sexually harassed by a trustee on Henyard's board. What makes the situation even more troubling is Henyard's response. Instead of addressing the issue, the mayor decided that exposing the offender would damage her own reputation. So, she chose to retaliate against the victim rather than confront the situation. This behavior, unfortunately, is not uncommon, but it's always disheartening when it happens.
Mayor Tiffany Henyard security detail. Now, according to the lawsuit, Trustee Holmes called Officer Miles and told him he had...
The Illinois Department of Human Rights is investigating claims of sexual harassment and retaliation against Mayor Henyard. The former assistant alleges that after she raised concerns about a non-consensual encounter with an unnamed village trustee, she faced retaliation, including harassment and discrimination. In addition, a Dalton police officer has also filed a complaint, stating he faced retaliatory actions for coming forward with what he witnessed. The former assistant's complaint details an incident that allegedly took place during an economic development trip to Las Vegas last May, which Henyard and other village representatives attended. The assistant reported feeling disoriented and lightheaded after a dinner with a Dalton trustee named Holmes, eventually leading to further distressing events.
The lawsuit, Trustee Holmes called Officer Miles and told him he had unprotected with the woman. Trustee Holmes FaceTimes.
As if to show her veracity, Officer Miles has also filed a complaint with the Human Rights Department. Apparently, after being told that the woman stated in her complaint that she went immediately to seek medical care, the situation took a more chilling turn. Both the woman and Officer Miles had a meeting the following day with the mayor. During this meeting, the woman informed Henyard that she would never willingly have sex with the trustee. Officer Miles also informed Henyard and the woman that the trustee had called him that night in Las Vegas, bragging about the sexual activities he engaged in with the woman, and even suggesting that she may not have had the ability to consent or did not provide consent. The lawsuit alleges that Trustee Holmes called Officer Miles and told him he had unprotected sex with the woman. Trustee Holmes FaceTimed Officer Miles, and according to the complaint, Officer Miles recorded some of the conversation with his iPhone. So, what did the mayor do after hearing this? According to the complaints, The mayor said that if this information became public, she would be ruined and all the work she had done would be lost.
Woman seeks out Mayor Tiffany Henyard. She says she wants to, let her know what happened. The mayor allegedly says, if this gets out, it could ruin me.
The ex-employee said after that, the mayor told her she would take care of it and to trust her. But guess what? Days later, according to her complaint, the woman was put on unpaid medical leave, though she says she did not request to be put on leave. Her employment was eventually terminated by the mayor. The woman says she was eventually let go, put on medical leave without her permission, and then eventually lost her job. In his own complaint, Officer Miles alleges that he was demoted to patrol duty, among other retaliations for coming forward as a witness. Both are asking for back pay, front pay, punitive damages, and attorney's fees. Of course, the mayor denied all of this officially, saying the village of Dalton conducted a thorough investigation into these allegations. The investigation was led by an independent third-party company consisting of former law enforcement officers, none of whom have ever been affiliated with the village of Dalton. Former police officer Miles was interviewed and denied knowing anything about these allegations. Also, despite numerous attempts by the village's independent investigators to contact the alleged victim, she refused to give a statement or cooperate with the investigation. Unfortunately, this is nothing more than two disgruntled village employees who are trying to make off with the taxpayers' hard-earned dollars. The village looks forward to defending these allegations and pursuing all other available remedies to the village. Now, that reply from the town sounds so good on paper until you consider that it's still the mayor that's in charge of things. Besides, how can someone who is still pursuing a case against the mayor suddenly deny everything he had said while still pursuing the same case? Something sounds fishy here, and it's not the edible type. To confirm our suspicions, the attorney representing both the woman and Officer Miles says Officer Miles is, in fact, still employed with the Dalton Police Department, and that a criminal complaint on behalf of Mayor Henyard's ex-assistant is already imminent. Fingers crossed, though, because if this supermayor is anything like what the accusations and investigations are showing, one definitely has to be careful. Anyways, we hope the FBI would be able to do a better job where others have failed. Justice must be served, no matter who is really the culprit here.